Anything that you have as a deficiency can be changed at any point in time. You can always press the reset button of your life and just go, okay, today's the day. I'm gonna make my life different. I'm gonna make things better. I'm gonna be somebody that's going to be better. I'm gonna do this, that, and the other to make this happen.
That's right.
So now as the business owner, I'm thinking, how can I leverage my time? Because anybody can work harder and make more money.
Yep.
How can I work less and make more money? That's the true genius of business ownership, right?
Because there's so many people that they claim that they really want stuff, but they're not out there doing what's necessary. They're half-assing the stuff that needs to get done. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Driven Not Given podcast. Man, I've got a good buddy of mine here. Got a tremendous amount of respect for this guy. And this is, not only is he a successful entrepreneur, somebody that I look up to, but he's also one of the coolest dudes that you'll ever see, man. You look at his Instagram, you look at this guy, you look at his style. I mean, this is one sharp, cool dude that you can learn a lot from. So I'm very excited, bro, to get this podcast going with you, brother. How are you, Manny?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey, man, I'm happy you're here, brother. Thank you for agreeing to come out here. So, Manny, let's jump right into it, brother. Let's get it, as I like to say.
Cool.
So, I interview people very often, and one of the things that I'm very curious to very often ask is, I want to know about your upbringing, right? I'm very curious to see what is it that led to the man that you are right now, the business, the mindset, and all these things, right? So if you could, start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your mindset, yourself and where you grew up, that'd be great, man.
Sure, no sweat. My mom and dad divorced when I was 5 years old. So it was me, my brother, and my sister. My sister is a year and 3 months younger than me, and then my brother is about 5 years younger than me. And when they divorced, years ago now, that's how I grew up. It was like latchkey city,
Yeah.
You go to school, you come home, you do your homework, and then mom's home like at 6:30 p.m.
Right.
So TV dinners were pretty much the norm.
Yeah.
And then my mom was great about helping us with homework and things like that.
Nice.
When she got home.
Right.
So pretty much it was just me and my sister in the house growing up, and then having that latchkey kid lifestyle. So we went to maybe I want to say 4 or 5 different elementary schools.
Oh wow.
When I first grew up, and then in the 7th grade, I went to live with my dad, and he had a nice pad out in Diamond Bar, and I grew up in Diamond Bar in the second half of my young adult stage, I guess you would call it, or youngster stage. And then I went to high school in Pomona, Ganesha High School. Okay. But even in Ganesha High School, I went to 3 different high schools.
Oh,
because I was back with my mom, and then I'd go to my dad's.
So you're bouncing around a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was jumping from one school to the next. Junior high was probably my most stable time in school.
Right.
Because I went to Lorbeer Junior High
the whole time.
Diamond Bar. Yes, 7th and 8th grade was my most consistent timeline of education, I guess you would say.
Right.
And then I graduated from Ganesha High School, which wasn't necessarily the friendliest high school environment. I mean, we had armed guards on campus.
No way. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, we had armed guards on campus.
Wow.
There was like 3 different sets all around the high school. So
damn,
it was pretty crazy. I saw some of my friends murdered. I mean, it was a pretty trying.
So did you
time.
have friends murdered, or you saw friends murdered? Because those two things are very.
Oh, both.
Oh, that's nuts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could tell you story after story, bro, of something crazy like that.
Wow.
It wasn't friendly. And then, my mom's side of my family, she has 9 brothers and sisters. And then my dad's side of the family has 12 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
So, Latino to the
to the core.
So when we do like a family reunion or something like that, I have a bunch of Latino cousins. And on my mom's side, they weren't the friendliest dudes. They were from
is that right?
different gangs and things.
Got it.
Nature.
So you grew up in that environment, that tough environment.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How did you not get sucked into that, bro?
Actually, it was my mom. My mom was the one that moved out of that type of neighborhood. Some of my cousins would probably listen to this and be like, "Damn, man, come on, dog."
Right.
But my mom moved out of that, and she got married to a white dude, And we kind of changed our lifestyle during the second marriage of that phase. Because my stepdad was a cool dude. They moved to Azusa, and then from there, I mean, like I said, I went and lived with my dad. So when my mom had moved, because we had lived in Hawaii for a couple years, when she moved back from Hawaii to Southern Cal, we lived in my mom's friend's house, and it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo.
Got it.
La Puente.
Okay.
And I remember my mom's friend lived in one room, and then me, my brother, my sister, and my mom lived in another room.
Wow.
And it was kind of like a defining moment, as a kid.
How old were you?
Gosh, I was about to go into the 7th grade. So.
Oh, wow. Got it.
So that I was about 12. And I remember telling my mom, I still remember this to this day. I remember telling my mom, I'm gonna go live with Dad. And my dad was not the best at that time. Now my dad's a cupcake. I mean, he's one of my biggest mentors. I mean, he's
That's cool.
A great guy now. But back then he wasn't, that type of guy.
Yeah.
And I remember my brother and sister looking at me like, oh my gosh, you're gonna go live with Dad?
Wow.
So, I mean, me and my dad would get into like a little tiff. He'd say, put on the gloves. We got a box.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it was like, I was fearful of my dad growing up. And, if I got a C, there was going to be a problem.
Interesting.
So he'd go down to the school and he'd cause serious challenges.
That's funny, man.
At the school level, if I got a C.
Yeah. When I was in junior high, I got kicked out of Southgate Junior High. Mm-hmm. I went to Huntington Park. It's called Gage Junior High. And
I was supposed to go to Gage. My dad lived off of Hunt Street.
Oh, nice. Yep. And to your story, we were right in a situation where it was a big difference, even though it's a city right next door. There was a big difference because gangsters from Florencia 13 would literally jump over the fence and hang out. I mean, we're talking about grown men, bro, would hang out inside the high school and just we'd be running for PE and these gangsters just sitting down on the benches, mad dogging, man. Mm-hmm. And it was like, nobody's telling these cats to get out, right? And so, man, it was, so I was influenced by that environment. I grew up around a lot of gangsters and whatnot. And I personally liked how these dudes dressed, like the Ben Davis, creased up Ben Davis, Nike Cortez, right? Yeah. Big shirts. I forget what the brand was, but
they got that crocodile walk.
That's right. The crocodile walk. Yeah. Were you influenced by that? Did you ever try to dress like that or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, my cousins were all thugs, so they're all cholos. They're all Southside Huntington Beach and from Anaheim and different locations like that. Like, I mean, I don't want to tell too much information, but it was some pretty crazy times. So,
got it.
Yeah, I was influenced a little bit. Like, I got my first tattoo when I was 16 years old, and I remember coming home, my mom slapped me and, was mad. And my cousin gave me the tattoo. Oh. My cousin Rosemary, like, I think she was high at the time. It was a little bit crooked. So,
oh, man.
So I mean, back then, that's just how we grew up.
At 16, you don't make the best decisions, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Hey, don't beat yourself up too bad.
Right. So it's crazy because, my mom's side of the family, cholos. And then, when I went to Ganesha, it was like 40% Black and Hispanics. So I always hung out with the Black dudes. And, I have a lot of friends of mine that were thugged out in Pomona. Right. And then I went to college at Cal State Fullerton.
Okay.
So a bunch of predominantly white area. And so I think it really helped me in the sales industry because I can pretty much be a chameleon in any situation that I'm in. So if I got any race that I'm speaking to, I can probably mold to that type of race.
Absolutely. That's one of to me, that word chameleon in business and in sales, communication, right? But business and sales, being a chameleon is so incredibly important, man. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I like to think that I have that as well. I'm pretty relatable to just about anybody that I come into, right? Mm-hmm. And I personally have made a conscious decision to learn certain specific things about other cultures as well. You know what I mean? I've got Filipino clients and teammates, right? And, from the Middle East and all kinds of stuff. And I think one of the things that helps me out is I take a genuine interest to some of their beliefs. I respect everybody's beliefs. I have my own beliefs. I respect everybody's beliefs. And in business, I think you touched on something very important. Being a chameleon is extremely important. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously asking the right questions is important as well. And then, you know, as we get older, we end up getting a lot more intelligent. We have a lot more wisdom, but across the board, you know, it's always the interest, you know, an old mentor of mine, he used to tell me, you know, be interested, not interesting.
That's such a key.
Right. And that's why I know Filipinos, they love to eat. So I'm, you know, whenever I'm in front of Filipino, I'm like, hey, what's for dinner? You know, and automatically it's rapport building, you know, out the ears. So I think it's important to have that whenever we're in any situation, not just communication, but in sales as well. So,
and in case anybody missed that is so incredibly key, bro. I heard that a few years ago. To be interested instead of being interesting. That was a mistake I used to make as a younger entrepreneur, bro. I tried to impress people, and even in the dating scene, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Not with my wife, but in the past, I would try to be interesting. Then when I got more mature, I started being interested. So with my wife, I was interested and I would ask questions. You mentioned that as well. But in business, it's about being interested. You know, there's an old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you have that sincere interest in these people, then they'll automatically find you interesting because you're taking a liking to them. A lot of times it's unconscious, right? Yeah. But how has that served you? And, you know, you mentioned about Filipino people, they love to eat and stuff, and you take an interest in what they've got.
Well, I mean, I think from a leadership standpoint, you know, leadership is not necessarily going, hey, let's all go to the movies, and then I get 32 people show up at the movies. Right. Leadership is just influence in one-on-one or one-on 32 or one-on 3,000. Right. So having that wherewithal and that interaction and knowing how to interact is important when you go into a leadership standpoint. Like even my media guy right now, I pay a media guy to post on my social media, like my Instagram, my Facebook, and LinkedIn, and all these other different avenues. He's like, dude, you got to show off your watch. You got to show off your cars. You got to show off your shoes. And honestly, I'm uncomfortable doing all that stuff. I understand. But I do it because so many people are attracted to that. Yeah. So naturally they gravitate towards bigger and better things. That's true. And it is uncomfortable for me because I'd rather be more interested about them instead of being so interesting. Mm-hmm. But social media nowadays, man, it's changed the game. Big time. So you're molding to whatever is progressing in the future. And it's a fast moving track, man. They said, I was reading an article the other day, a couple of years ago, as a matter of fact, and they were saying that colleges nowadays are just so behind, you know. You 100%. Got a professor that's teaching you something that is probably not even going to be in existence in the next 5 years. Yep. So it's just so fast moving now. And then a lot of professors, nothing against college or anything with professors, but just something that I've learned is a lot of the professors, they've been at the job for 30 years. That's right. So how are they going to teach me about everyday life when they're in the classroom acting like they know it all? They got to be out in the real world, you know? That's right. It's like you're in the fighting. You remember fighting and being I see your Graham, you boxing with your boy, and I think that's awesome, bro. Thanks, man. But it's like that. Like they actually count the hours on the mat if you're doing some MMA. That's Why does that matter? Because if you get a dude that has 20 hours on the mat versus a guy that has 1 hour on the mat, that dude with 20 hours is going to whoop that ass. That's right. That's right. He's got that much more time on the mat. Same thing applies in business. Same thing applies in your relationships. Same thing applies in your friendships, et cetera, et cetera. Absolutely. You know, when I graduated from high school, I often tell my story. I try to go to school. I tried to get a job. I couldn't because I didn't have a social security number yet by the time I was 18, right? So I couldn't get a job legally. I didn't know that. Yeah, I was born in Mexico and stuff. And in Spanish, we say, alguna gente viene con visa, otros vienen con prisa, right? For those of you who understand Spanish, you understand what that is. I was that second one, right? Uh-huh. And so at 18, I couldn't get a job. So then I tried to go to school, apply for some loans. They say, you don't qualify for any loans. You got to pay for everything yourself, right? So I would get odd jobs. I used to be a bouncer at Margarita Jones. I was one of the smallest bouncers. Margarita Jones by USC, bro. Nice. And West Covina. And so they used to pay me under the table, right?
And then I would take odd jobs like roofing and construction here and there, paid under the table, because I was trying to help my single mom, right? And so so what happened is that somebody says, hey, you got to go to the military, right? And then you'll get your papers. Long story short, I go 2 weeks after 9/11. I want to be a Marine. Come on in. When they found out I don't have papers, they said, you know what? We used to be able to help people like you. We cannot help people like you anymore. We don't do that anymore. So I couldn't join the Marines. I couldn't get a job legally. I couldn't go to school. I had to pay, but I don't have a job to pay. That's why. And I realized then, I said, that's probably why a lot of kids where I grew up from end up going to illegal stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm like, what the heck?
They gotta earn something.
Right. And so, but I did attend Cerritos College, right? UCLA, right? University of California, left on Alondra. So I attended Cerritos College for like a semester. I had a business professor. I asked him, this is to your point. Say, hey, by the way, what kind of business have you owned? And then my business professor says, I've never owned a business. I'm like, you never owned a business?
And he's teaching business.
He's teaching business though. I did the Scooby-Doo, man. I'm like, right? I'm like, how are you teaching me business, but you never owned a business? Yeah. You never even started a business. You never raised some money, invested some money.
Exactly the reason for the value of the podcast.
Right.
Like all of this nowadays, podcasts, YouTube, social media. I mean, YouTube hasn't been around for more than 13 years.
Right, exactly.
I mean, now you can legit go and get a real, like a real deal education just based on being close to social media or YouTube or
following the right
podcasts.
People. Following the right people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listening to the right information, right?
Absolutely.
One of your mentors that I like to get into, he said something that resonated with me, and it's so key, so obvious to people that study success, right? Because I study you. I notice that about your social media. You've got a lot of engagement and you're consistent with it and stuff. And one of the things about successful people that I've learned a long time ago is that they recruit their weakness, right? So you hired a social media guy that tells you, hey, man, here's what you got to do. And then he shoots the stuff, he puts it up for you and whatnot. But Ed Milet, one of your, the guys that you work with in the past, right? And buddy of yours, right? Yeah. He said, if I could tell my kids two things to learn, on one of his podcasts, he says, if I could tell my kids two things to learn, it's communication and sales. The ability to properly communicate with somebody and the ability to sell, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody's a salesperson since we're kids, right? Just some people get paid for it and some people get paid more than others for it, right? So
if you have no social life, you can't sell.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the bottom line.
So how important would you say to people on those two things, that advice, and anything else that you want to add as far as some fundamental stuff for the real world? Not stuff that you're never going to use ever in your life, but what are some fundamental skills that somebody should develop, bro, to achieve the things that they want in this world today?
I'm a little bit, well, obviously I'm a lot bit controversial. So I have a little bit different standpoint than the average person. I would say absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, they need to learn how to communicate and how to gauge people's body language, etc.
Right.
Right in line with what Ed was talking about. Milet was even though I think he's like 4 years older than me, his birthday's in April, I still know that. But even though he's 4 years older than me, I kind of looked at him as like a father figure. Right. Because he taught me so much. And it wasn't what was actually taught, it was what was caught.
Got it.
I used to go to a meeting twice a week that he would hold. And the way that he would speak, he'd have his thumbs out, he'd get intense and his vein would pop out here, and he'd edify me. He'd say, Manny is a champion, he's a business astronaut. Let me tell you a little bit about Manny. And I still remember the things that he used to say about me. Right. Just the way that he carried the room was just so amazing. And this was back when, again, YouTube wasn't even around. This was 17 years ago. So he could make a large crowd cry within 5 minutes and then laugh within the next 5 minutes. Wow. I mean, the guy was just truly amazing. He's a gifted person. Yep. So going back to your question, I would say absolutely the number one thing is communication and how to gauge somebody energy wise. But nowadays with our the progression of sales and things of that nature, you don't even need that. It's kind of crazy because nowadays with CRM systems, I mean, you could like text message 37 people on your CRM system and you're going to get a hit and you're going to sell something just based on what you said by text.
That's right.
So it's kind of old school to go, hey, go knock on doors like my sons, Manny and Dominic. Dominic's 23 now and Manny's 21. And when they were younger, they were 13 and 15, I made them door knock and ask the neighbors all over the place if they want their cars washed or their windows washed or their yard work done. That way they can earn money.
Right.
Nowadays, kids are just so, I mean, I hate to put a stigma on them, and I hate to put that out there in the universe, but it's true. Like majority of kids nowadays, because I do financial planning.
Yeah.
So I see all these kids, they're entitled.
Yep. They're
like, man, I don't need to hustle. Mom and dad already got me set up. They're already worth millions. So why do I need to hustle?
Yeah.
And it's really sad to see. Bet David the other day, Patrick's a friend of mine as well. You know, I love his YouTube channel and his content and how he's so neutral and he loves to argue every point. I love that about him. But on his YouTube, he said something that made total sense to me. He said, you know, the United States is kind of like the billionaire daddy.
Yep.
You have a billionaire daddy and you think, oh, well, dad's got billions. I don't really need to work that hard. And now you got unemployment. People are getting unemployment just for not showing up at work.
Yep.
People are getting $1,400 stimulus checks just for staying at home. People are getting to click a button that says, I don't need to pay my mortgage for the next year. Right. I mean, it's just an easy society that they think that money is just being printed overnight. And it's just really sad to see. So, you know, I got off on a tangent, but it just, you know, communication, obviously, CRMs are very important nowadays. And absolutely, I would teach sales. My kids, going back to my kids again, you know, Manny and Dominic, when they were kids, younger kids, not adults now, but when they were younger kids, I remember them coming up to me at the market and they go, Dad, can I have ice cream? And I said, nope, you're never going to get ice cream doing that. And they already knew what I was talking about. So they go back and they huddle up and they go, Dad, can we have Neapolitan or chocolate ice cream? So they gave alternate a choice.
Nice.
So of course I go, that's my boy.
Yeah.
You can have whichever one you want to, because I want them to get used to selling, you know?
Yes.
And nowadays it's just, you know, kids nowadays are just so entitled. So it's really unfortunate, but at the same time, that would be the stuff that I would be teaching. And a lot of it, to go even further, is about parenting. Right. It's just bad parenting.
It's true.
To be honest.
100%.
You know, it's sad to see.
One of the early founders, guy was very involved. I forget his name. I'll probably put it, you know, in the thumbnails or whatever. But he said, hey, listen, I don't subscribe to raising my kids where here's an iPad and then, you know, go get lost and whatnot. I don't do that either. My son just turned 7. You know, he asked a similar question if he wants something. First of all, he knows he can't have a lot of sugar. That's number one. He'll tell you. Let's say you offer him a cookie. You say, oh, no, that's too much sugar, right? He'll have it from time to time. But one of the things that he asked for right now, he's really into Mario. So he wants a Luigi Mario. He's got like this Lego and he watches a video on an app to put it together. That's about the reason why I use it, because that's the only way to put it together, right? And he plays video games every 3 days for an hour. That's about what he does. Awesome. But one of the things he asked me is, hey, Dad, what do I have to do? Daddy, what do I have to do to earn the Luigi Legos? Right? And I'm like, oh, okay. So number one, he has to earn his own money. He has a way to earn money. Number two, it's not only about earning the money. It's about, you could have enough money to buy the Luigi. That doesn't mean you've earned it. You got the money to do it, but are you training hard at jujitsu? Mm-hmm. Are you brushing your teeth and doing your bed? Like, here's $5. If he wakes up in the morning, brushes his teeth and does his bed without me telling him, here's $5. Okay? Something he has to do anyways, right? Yeah. And so, and then I give, like, if he helps me wash the rims of the car, he's going to earn $5-10, right? So little things like that. So he's probably got $1,000 in his piggy bank, bro. And guess what? Oh, you want to buy a toy? Looks like you earned it. Yeah. Let's go take some money, right? Some of your money. And by the way, he pays $100 in rent every month. He's 7 years old. He's been doing that since he was 6.
Strong.
So he knows, hey, man, this is what I got to do. And I tell him, nobody's going to give you nothing and nobody owes you anything. You owe yourself. It reminds me of the movie Rocky. Rocky 2 or 3. Paulie, the brother-in-law, gets in trouble, goes to jail, and then Rocky bails him out. So then Paulie tells Rocky, it's your fault, man. And Rocky's like, why is it my fault? He says, you never given me a job. You give her, you helped out so-and-so and so-and-so.
Right.
He says, I don't need to give you a job, man. I don't owe you anything. You owe yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a funny little situation. And I'm reminding myself now I'm going to share it on social media. But that's such an important clip. Then Paulie starts to punch him and Rocky's blocking and whatnot. And then at the end, Paulie's huffing and puffing, as you can imagine. And he goes, man.
He's out of shape.
Then he goes, yeah, he's out of shape. He goes, can I have a job, man? And then Rocky's like, all you got to do was ask, man.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's very unfortunate because that is what we're raising. We're raising, and by we, I'm talking about in general, right? Not everybody is. But unfortunately, there's a lot of kids that are being raised right now, very entitled, very weak, right? Because the system that we are in, the culture that it is in, I very often talk about participation trophies. When I grew up, it was first, second, and third, bro. If you got your kicked, you went back, and my karate teacher didn't sugarcoat. He says, hey, man, they beat your ass, didn't they?
Yep.
Remember that day that you missed? That's probably why you lost, right? And so nowadays, I see exactly what you're talking about, man. There's a book, some guy, I forget his name. I think it's Stephen Areno is his name. He says, hard times create strong men create easy times create weak men. We're in that easy times. It's easy. I don't have the money. Tell the bank, as you said, can't pay the mortgage. I don't want to go to work because I get more money not working. Boom. That's creating weak men and women. Guess what? There's more money being printed now than ever before. It's nuts what's happening. Mm-hmm. It's going to hit the fan in the next year and a half, 2 years, man. And people are, I believe, what are your thoughts about this? All this money printing right now, all of these mortgages not getting paid. I don't see personally, bro, and I love your opinion on it, how we're not going to have another 2008 or worse. I would love your opinion on that.
I just did every month we do a Tuesday night, first Tuesday night of the month, we do something called TFA Tuesday. And it's all financial. So mortgages, real estate, financial planning, IRAs, what's a traditional IRA versus a Roth IRA, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So I just spoke about this. I don't know if you know this or not, but in the past 10 months, 35% of our money that's in circulation right now has been printed. In the past 10 months.
That's nuts.
So there was a, I want to back our president, no matter who it is.
Right.
It's a Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter to me. Once they get elected, I'm all about it.
Right.
And they were talking about the first 100 days that Biden has been in office. He's raised the economics financially to the tune of what JFK did back in the 60s. And I think that graph is just skewed. News nowadays can be skewed in any way, shape, or form. It's crazy. What you have to take into consideration is that you have 35% of the money in circulation today that has been printed in the last 10 months. So it's no wonder the GDP is up. It's no wonder that the market is up. When they get all this money, they have to spend it.
Right.
The government ain't no dum-dums. They go, we give Americans money, they need to go and spend the money.
That's right.
Let's just go give them some more money so that they could spend some more money.
Mm-hmm.
But what that causes is obviously inflation. And recently you're going to see, you have seen gas prices going up. The cost of wood has gone up. The cost of everything, quite frankly, has gone up. And when that happens, that's called inflation, right?
Right.
If you're not making a 5%, 8% rate of return in your investments, you're not going to outpace inflation, which has historically been 3 or 4. I'm really concerned about runaway inflation.
Yep.
And you see this in a lot of different countries. I won't even say any countries out there. I don't want to put them on blast, but I think that once you do the due diligence in that, it is going to be a concern. What goes up has to come crashing down.
That's right.
We've been in the biggest bull market ever. I mean, this is what I do for a living. So in the year 2000, you had the dot-com bubble burst.
Yep.
In 2003, there was a crush. The S&P did, I think they lost close to 30%. In the great real estate debacle, you had 2006 and 7 was the peak. Then you have 2008 and 9.
Right.
2009, our unemployment was almost 10%. It was 9.9%.
Okay.
So what goes up came crashing down.
Right.
Now you have the absolute biggest bubble ever in American history.
Ever.
Because we've just went through the absolute biggest bull market ever. I mean, it's an 11, 12-year run right now.
Wow.
And what goes up has to come crashing down.
Right.
What I don't know, though, however, is how bad it's going to come crashing down. Everyone knows it's going to come crashing down, but it's just how bad is it going to be?
Correct.
In my speculation, I'd say 25%. If somebody has a piece of real estate and it's worth 600 grand today, I'd say it's going to take a 25% hit.
Wow.
Now, of course, area matters a
Sure.
lot with that. So an attractive area is always going to have an appeal and a higher bump. But
right.
Inland Empire, Las Vegas, come on, they're gonna
get crushed.
Absolutely. You
That's
give me a
nuts.
Newport Coast house, of course, it's prime real estate.
Sure.
You know, that's the exception to the rule. But when it comes to economics, there's 4 stages of economics.
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
very simple. That's Econ 101.
Yep.
It's the expansion, the peak, the contraction, and the trough.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at a peak, no matter what anyone else says. It's just, you know, well, my realtor told me I should buy a piece of property. Yeah, because they make money on it.
That's the business they're in.
A piece of real estate.
And that's one of the things, bro, that I bite my tongue on a lot these days. It's about I was a real estate agent when the 2008 crash happened. Matter of fact, December 2007 is when I left the industry. That's when everything started hitting the fan. And
that was a great time to exit.
That was a great time to exit, bro. And I had already felt it. I already knew. And I was a young guy. I'm surprised, but it was, I just knew. And then it was a ghost town at these real estate offices. I mean, there was people that committed suicide and stuff like that. And I mean, it was nuts.
I had 2 of my agents in 2009 commit suicide.
No way.
Yeah. One stabbed his dad and stabbed himself, murdered his dad and murdered himself. And then one hung himself.
Oh my God. Yeah. Was it that bad for him?
You know, money isn't everything.
No.
You know the cliche, right?
Yeah.
But it's up there with oxygen for some of these people.
Right.
So my personal opinion is it shouldn't be so major that you're thinking about suicide.
No.
We had another guy when I was in World Financial Group with Ed. We had a guy that committed suicide in Vegas. I mean, it was so sad.
Yeah.
And in a life insurance policy, after 2 years, 1 day later, you commit suicide, they pay. So the life insurance policy, let's say, hey, your family's in the dumps and you don't want your family to go through that. I'm assuming this guy had done it for something close to that. But I don't want to be that assumptive guy. But absolutely, you know, finances go down. I mean, it causes people to do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, man.
I mean, why does crime go up when economics falls?
Because, exactly. You know, they're people are desperate.
Hustle some money.
You know, to me, anytime you talk about that, people that hurt themselves, people that commit suicide, to me, it's very hard to understand. Partly because, well, obviously, different situations. I'm not living through them, and I have, you know, God bless them, man. But I've definitely been, and I like to ask you about this, with nothing, dead broke, rock bottom, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'm talking about broke. Mm-hmm. And so then you realize, hey, man, at least I did, right? Hey, man, all right, I can only go up from here, man. If I hit rock bottom, right, you could only go up from there, man. You could go out there hustle. Not everybody has that mindset. Tell me about a time that maybe, whether it was a similar situation to what I just mentioned or something like that, and particularly if you've ever had a situation where you're like riding high, doing well, and then all of a sudden, bam, it came crashing down. Does that ever happen to you?
Multiple times.
Yeah. Okay.
So I always say, you know, there's 2 majors. There's a defining moment, and then there's a paradigm shift. Mm-hmm. I think one of my defining moments was finding this multi-level marketing company. I think it was necessary. It was like my college education at that time.
Right.
So
was this WFG?
It was WFG. It was World Financial Group. I remember Ed Milet gave the first part of the presentation. I think I was one of maybe 40 plus guests that night.
Wow.
And it was like he was speaking to my soul. That guy was just an incredible speaker.
Yeah.
And when I went down, gosh, I think it was early 2003. When I went down to hear him speak, it wasn't, again, no YouTube stuff. It was like, you had to come and see it in person.
That's right.
And I just knew the guy was money, man. He had a tailor-made suit on. He walked with some pizzazz.
Yeah.
He ain't like 6'4". I mean, the dude's like 5'7", 5'8".
Is that right?
Sorry, Ed. I think he's like 5'8". So, so he walked out with his thumbs out. He goes, "What are you doing to become successful?" You know, and he said something that just got me, man. He said, "You need to change what you're currently doing to change what you're currently getting." And that hit me like a ton of bricks, man. I was sitting in the third row and thinking to myself, damn, he's talking to me, man. Who cares about these 40 other cats? He's talking to me.
That's a good speaker will do that to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I don't care what he's selling. I'm buying it.
Right.
And that's when I really, at that time, changed my life. The last speaker, his name was Dan Charlier, and he was 6'4", big black dude. And he was a Marine Corps drill instructor, and he held the colors for the White House.
Wow.
For President Bush. And he always said, you know, I'm holding the colors for the White House, but I can't give my mom an extra $200-300, you know.
Wow.
How crazy is that? And he told a story that he got from somebody else, I'm sure, because, you know, say it 4 times, it's yours.
Yeah.
And he said, go to your boss tomorrow and creep up behind him and yell at him, go, "Hey, hey." And once they turn around and look at you like you're crazy, ask them, just go, "Hey, what I got to do around here to make $100,000 a year?"
Oh, that's good.
I was like, damn. He goes, matter of fact, ask him again, "What I got to do around here to make $250,000, $500,000, a multiple 7-figure income? What do I have to do right now to get to that level?"
That's right.
When your boss turns around and says, "I don't even make that much money. How am I going to show you how to do it?" Then it's a hint that you're in the wrong place if that's your financial goal.
That's right. Powerful.
That was powerful. That was like,
wow.
I was like a swan in the water at that time. I was like, damn, man. Because my boss was probably making $120, and the boss above her was probably making about 200 racks.
Right.
And I thought, man, I'm never going to crack 200 racks. And this dude's old. Like, I'm never going to get there until I'm 60 years old.
Right.
And then I need a master's degree, and I can't even do that. So that was when I started at WFG, I went through a time where I got fired at my job. We called it a mutual separation, so I could get some unemployment.
Right, right.
And I flunked my test because at the time you had to get a Series 6 and a Series 63 and have a life license at that time. So you had to be what's called dually licensed.
Okay.
I went through it, man. Like I didn't have enough money left over from the unemployment checks that I was getting. So I got my car repossessed by my ex-girlfriend. Thank you.
Wow.
And that was just rough times, you know what I'm saying? And I was renting a room for my dad at $500 a month. And when he came home, I left because I didn't want to hear him, you know. "You're a loser, man. Come on, man. Go get a job." And I remember one time him asking me that, "How come you don't just go get a job?" And I said, "Dad, I don't want to be in the position where I'm working 70, 75 hours a week to make $120,000, $130,000 a year." And he's like, you know, he kept grinding me. And I told him one time, because I was learning from these meetings, right? I go, "Dad, do you think all the criticism that you're giving me is making me feel better or worse?" Got him. Because I knew my dad loved me, right?
Right.
He goes, "Oh, mijo, I'm sorry."
Wow.
You know, you're right. And he started to relax a little bit. And at that time, I got my license and I got it going. But I mean, I remember taking showers at LA Fitness for a couple of weeks because I just didn't want to go through the hassle of, man, you know, and then I go spend the night at my buddy's house. And my friend Bashir in Diamond Bar, his mom was like my second mom. So I just, I just go sleep on the couch and then I'd go take a shower at LA Fitness. They never knew that. But oh man, you know, it'd be cool to just spend the night. Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, and then I got my car repossessed and I bought this 1963 Corvair with no power steering. And I remember parking like down the street on my appointments.
I've done that.
The clients, they would leave the appointment and, you know, they loved me. So they'd be like, "Oh, we'll walk you to your car." And I was like, "Oh no, it's cool." You know, I parked down the street, you know, I took a wrong turn and, you know, I was so embarrassed. You know, I didn't want to go through that. So multiple, I mean, that's just one time, so embarrassing. But you know, just like you said, if you're down, your only way to go is up.
What's up?
So when it comes to the suicidal thoughts, in my opinion, I can hustle my way out of it. And
That's
then
right.
people that are watching, they normally go, well, that's your story. You know, nah, that's everyone's story.
That's right.
You know, there's always exceptions to the rules with their
Sure.
health, or someone
Sure.
breaks their leg and of course they can't.
Yeah.
But, you know, predominantly, if you're healthy, you should be able to grind that ass. You know, if you're 300 pounds, 5'10", you've been eating somewhere.
That's right.
So if you believe that you're a little bit overweight and people are going to judge you, then get your ass on a diet and get busy.
That's right.
You know, do some
That's
push-ups
right.
on the street. Who cares? Go for a jog.
Yeah.
You know, anything that you have as a deficiency can be changed at any point in time. You can always press the reset button of your life and just go, okay, today's the day. I'm going to make my life different. I'm going to make things better. I'm going to be somebody that's going to be better. I'm going to do this, that, and the other to make this happen.
That's right. It's kind of like they say inspiration or desperation, right? There's a guy that's, 5'9", 300 pounds, 350 pounds, super bad shape, super unhealthy. And one day at 30 years old, has to go to the doctor in an emergency because he was about to have a heart attack.
Yep.
All of a sudden it's desperation time. And I got 2 daughters, 2 boys, or whatever the case is, and a wife. You know what? It's time to change my life.
Yep.
That's desperation. Then there's inspiration. There's a guy that watches somebody like you, watches somebody like the guests that we have on the podcast, or somebody that you admire, and you say, you know what, man, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And it's a decision. One of the things that I find that a lot of people think is that making a decision takes time. Like a woman that left an abusive relationship. It took her 10 years to leave that guy. Bullshit. It took her a decision.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was all this time. Then eventually one day she said, you know what? That's it.
That's it.
My mom did that. My mom in Mexico, 2 boys. My dad used to beat her. He used to smoke. He used to drink. He used to be a womanizer. Bad. Alcoholic. One day she took us to my grandma's house. Told my grandma, I've saved enough money. I'm going to go to America. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to bring my boys.
Cool.
She did that, man. She came here for 2 years. My younger brother started calling my grandma mom. My grandma used to show him a picture of my mom and say, no, this is your mom. So one day we get here, happiest day in my life, bro. Next to the day my son was born. We come here. I remember Southgate, California, Nebraska Street. We get off the car, man. I see my mom across the parking lot. I get emotional, bro. I run across the parking lot. And I remember seeing this parking stall, right, for the cars. I remember even thinking, bro, I was 5 years old. I remember thinking, 1989. Don't trip over that stall when you jump over to go hug your mom. I thought that, bro. We jumped over, we hugged my mom. That was the happiest day next to the day my son was born, bro. So the point is that with that kind of stuff, man, thanks, man. With that kind of stuff, to me, my mom's my hero, bro. She came here for 2 years, worked her ass off. Then I would see her going to a job, 6 a.m, get on the bus with a big old bag of garments, bro. Go to downtown LA to sew. She used to get paid like $1.50 per piece that she sold or something like that, right? They used to come back and she used to go to Herbalife meetings, bro, to a network marketing meeting, right? Mm-hmm. And she would work. And then I asked her, Mom, you already have a job. Why do you do these businesses? She said, son, if I want to give you and your brothers, by this time, we had our third brother, Art. If I want to give you guys a life that I want to give you, that you deserve, I'm not going to do that by working for somebody else. So the point is, there are people, is inspiration or desperation, man. For her, she said, that's it. She had enough. It's a decision. Doesn't take a long time. It's just a decision in the moment, right? Where you just say, hey, man, that's it. And that's one of the things I did. One of my brokest times was I got kicked out of an apartment that I was renting. I had a red Corvette. I mentioned on one of the prior podcasts, I got repoed. A lot of people on my very first Corvette. I said I sold it, but I didn't sell it. It got repoed. I remember I'm driving down the street and I had broken up with my girlfriend at the time. I got kicked out of my place. My mom lived in Hesperia, 2 hours away. And I'm driving. I got my stuff packed in the car because I already left the apartment. I have nowhere to go. I got a little ass Corvette that I was doing good. Then I started doing very bad. Broke as a joke. I had 75 cents in my pocket, bro. That's all the money I had to my name. 75 cents, bro. Matter of fact, my bank account, Citibank, I remember, was overdrawn. Later on, I had to pay that. I was in check systems because of that.
Right.
So I called my ex-girlfriend thinking I could always go to her house and at least get some food, right? She didn't realize how bad I was really doing. So I called her and I wasn't, the best boyfriend it was. So she says, don't call me. Hangs up on me. Bam. I was ready to go. LA Morton Street. I still remember, man. I was like, I'm going to go to her house. I won't mention her name. She's super cool. I said, but I probably already let the cat out the bag when I mentioned the street. But the point is, she said, no, leave me alone. Don't call me. So I pull over. I go to the Winchells on Florence and like Garfield, like Bell Gardens. And I grab a donut. That's all I could afford. Then I'm driving. I don't know where I'm going to go, bro. Call my buddy. Hey, what are you doing, Rick Dog? He says, oh, I'm just waking up, bro. I'm around the corner from your house, bro. You mind if I just stop by and crash? Yeah, come through. His mom was making breakfast, bro. So if I could eat right there and shit, get my wits about me. Then I call my brother. And then I ended up sleeping at somebody's house. And eventually I ended up crashing on my younger brother's couch.
Yeah.
I remember thinking.
That's like the pedigree to success, right?
Yeah, bro. And the thing is that he lived with a couple roommates, all men. Fucking house was dirty, bro. Mm-hmm. That couch, man, was like stank, bro. Yeah. Everybody's chilling there. And then not only that, like it's a bunch of young single dudes. So they'd always have people over late and stuff. So I'm like, I'm going to go to sleep when everybody decides to go to sleep and shit, right? Because I don't have my own room. But the point is that I've been there, you know what I mean? Down and out and whatnot. And, kind of like what you just shared, right? So WFG, I would imagine that, as you just mentioned, that was a big turning point for you, right? Yeah. And then after WFG, how did you end up? Because I want to talk to you about your current company. I love the name, first of all, bro.
Thank you.
Financial Architects. That's such a badass name, bro. Right? How did you come up with that name, and what does the company do, bro?
Actually, I didn't come up with the name. Okay. When I originally left WFG, we started our own company, me and two partners. But I don't know if you've ever started a business with partners. I mean, you have to have a meeting to conduct a meeting, to decide a meeting, to actually make a decision.
Yep.
And it's just too many moving parts. So that took all of about 3, maybe 4 months to just completely go, you know what, this just isn't going to work out. And I ended up losing 2 really good financial planners. I mean, both of them probably make a 7-figure income now. But Curtis, one of my buddies, his dad actually came up with the idea. He's like, oh, so you guys he's a CPA out in like Idaho. You guys are kind of like financial architects then. You're like designing the future. And I was like, that's our name, dude. That's going to be our name, right? The Financial Architects.
That's good.
And ever since then, TFA, never fear TFA.
Nice.
But,
nice.
But yeah, that's where I got the name from. And then eventually, we transitioned to multiple offices, multiple agents, and leaving WFG was like leaving your family. It's not that easy. I was there for 8 years. I spoke at their national convention. I did pretty well considering, but the same company that set me free was the same company that was holding me back.
Okay.
And, I told Ed that probably about 3 years ago. Again, Ed's somebody that has been someone that I learned a massive amount from.
Right.
And I'm always going to be grateful for him. So respect to him no matter what. But that company really taught me a lot, but it also taught me what not to look for in the future.
Got it.
Residuals. I mean, contractually, I'm not supposed to share certain things, but residuals, contracts, annuity payouts, life insurance, long-term payouts. I mean, there's a ton of different, and having limited products at your fingertips, I did not want to be a part of.
Right.
So when I left, I never realized how much was out there. And I would say maybe 3 to 5 years later was really when I got dialed in. And I've been building this company, now for like 6 years. So we currently have 16 locations. I have a location in Chino, me personally, but we recently franchised. I don't know if you know this or not, but California is something called a registration state. That's code for we just want more money from you so that you can
sounds like California
here. Yeah, right. So we're approved in 39 states, but it's kind of like a McDonald's or a Jack in the Box or any other franchise. I don't know if you know this or not, but Starbucks is not a franchise.
Correct.
So there's
Neither's in and out.
Right. So there's a franchise model, which is very turnkey.
Right.
That the Federal Trade Commission governs, and I mean, it was a Wild Wild West back in 2008 and 9 with franchises.
Yes.
I didn't even know that either. So when I franchised the company, the thought was, okay, I can show somebody how to step by step get a given result in financial services, and they don't have to be very knowledgeable in financial services. It can just be very turnkey. So we have all the products and services. I mean, some of the companies that we do business with are Prudential and Pacific Life and AIG, and I mean, massive companies like that. So health insurance through Anthem and Kaiser and so on and so forth.
Right.
So we're kind of like the discount broker to the companies.
Oh, okay.
So we take kind of a regular guy from Main Street and bring him to somewhat of Wall Street.
Right.
With a bunch of different options.
I love it.
A couple different facts on that, since you asked. There's the average guy that does what I do is right around 60, 63 years old.
Got it.
And the wealth transfer in the United States is close to $100 trillion.
Wow.
Yeah. In 2008, it was $70 trillion, by the way.
Really?
So it's growing.
That's huge.
Huge right now. So with that, everybody has properties or IRAs or life insurance policies. So mom and dad, who are probably going to give me some money in the near future, I need to know how to properly inherit it.
Right.
And properly invest it, and then properly give it off to my children.
Right.
As tax efficient as possible, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all moving parts of financial planning, but nobody knows about them. Even your local financial planner doesn't know about. I mean, 90% of the industry doesn't know how to really do what we do.
Right.
So I felt like there was a big need for that. So I franchised the option and opportunity, and we'll have over 400 locations in the next 3-4 years.
Wow. And you have 25 right now, you said?
We got 16 currently.
Wow.
But we got a couple of franchisees that are.
Who's the ideal franchisee for you?
So the target is somebody that already has a rocking business.
Got it.
So let's say a real estate group that has 37 agents and 2,000 clients. They already have a strong CRM system. Right. So all they're doing is plugging another product inside their already successful CRM system.
Makes sense.
A mortgage broker or lender, that'd be a great turnkey model.
Yep.
Even a wealthy guy that says to himself, or gal, that says to him or herself, hey, I'm going to be investing $100,000, $200,000 every single year into my financial plan. Why don't I just buy the franchise, buy the front door, and get paid on my own stuff? Why wouldn't I do that?
Right.
So there's a big market for it.
Makes sense.
Especially on the wealth transfer. It's crazy,
Right.
If anyone tells or asks their brother, sister, aunt, uncle, mom, and dad, hey, what's the legacy plan? What's the rollover plan when everyone inherits stuff?
Yes.
The predominant answer is going to be, have no idea.
That's true. And that's such an important question that people, and I mean, life is so fragile. You never know, right? A lot of times people think, I got time. We don't know how much time we have, right? So that lies a fire under my ass to get my stuff in order even better, right? Mm-hmm. So, I know that we have a pending conversation about that.
Absolutely.
You mentioned CRM a lot. And last time that you and I were having a conversation, you mentioned about some advice that you would give to your younger self. You're right, like a young professional.
Right.
So that advice was very unique. I haven't heard a lot of people mention that to me, but it makes so much sense. And I'm with you 100%. And you said to have a good CRM system with your clients and your contacts, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I'll stretch upon that. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Manager.
Right.
So again, when I got in, now doing the math, 18 years ago, Milet and all of the brokers in that company were really good at expressing the necessity to recruiting, right?
Right.
Recruiting agents, recruiting this, recruiting that. They were horrible at showing people how to build a real sales system, right?
Got it.
How do I build, let's say I don't recruit anybody. Can I still be successful in this model? And the answer was really no. You got to recruit 10,000 people
right.
in order for you to make $250,000 only.
Right.
I really believe as a personal producer doing what I do now, I can make $700,000, $800,000 a year just on my personal pen.
Right.
Of course, I'm going to need 2 or 3 assistants to help me to push forward all those different clients and database.
Sure.
But the basic behind a customer relationship management system is you grab all your contacts, everybody that you imagine, all the people that you've met, bro, in the past 20 years.
That's nuts.
Imagine if you had them into this customer relationship management system.
Right.
Now you could have someone on your staff work the CRM. Hey, Bob, this is Natalia calling from the office of Manny Soto and the Financial Architects. He met you at Starbucks a couple weeks ago, and I'm just touching bases with you to set an appointment for him so that you guys can go over the conversation that you guys were having. When would you have 5 or 10 minutes?
Nice. Yeah,
and then she sets up the appointment for me or someone else inside my business and then does that. Why would I not take record of all the people that I have met over the past X amount of years?
True.
It just blows me away.
That's absolutely true.
And if I had to do it over again, the number one thing I would do is not learn about communication or anything like that. I would put all my contacts into a CRM system and let that CRM system roll. Because now as a business owner, because I think like a business owner now, I don't think as like the employee or think as the sales rep, respect to those people. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but there's steps to these things, right?
Yes.
So now as the business owner, I'm thinking, how can I leverage my time? Because anybody can work harder and make more money. How can I work less and make more money? That's the true genius in business ownership, right?
Right.
So if I hire staff and I have a good system with a great CRM system,
it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Right? You both said it. It's a wrap.
Yeah. No. And one thing that you do great in conversating with you and in seeing you is you have strong people around you. You're not a one-man show.
Nope.
And I would imagine that you're focused on expanding when the time is right? Scaling and whatnot.
Absolutely. Just throwing some names out there. I mean, I got one of my best friends and most talented brokers is this woman named Erica Manzano. She's from Chino. She's made a 6-figure income ever since year 1 she was in business with me, which was almost 6 years ago. Nayeli, Omar Sanchez. Omar is probably making $45,000 a month right now. He's doing incredible. George Hernandez out of Glendora. Last year he almost made $1 million. Neil and Danita Clark, their son plays for UCLA.
Nice.
So in the Final Four, he was a freshman playing on the court, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, Jalen is dope. Multiple people, Natalie Essman. I mean, all these people that have this leadership capability and that are in business with me now. I got a tax advisor in San Dimas, Jose Estrada, and he does taxes. And 2.5-3 years ago, he got into business with me. He makes an extra $150,000 in financial services just by doing taxes and going, hey, by the way, you got life insurance, you got a retirement.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, I mean, it's really turnkey. And that's just him by himself, not recruiting 27 guys.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a champion, nothing like that. So,
and for that guy, I would imagine it makes, even if I'm a tax guy, they're busy for like a certain part of the year, not necessarily the entire year.
Right.
So now
used to be 4 months, now it's 5 months, right?
Exactly, right? Now it's 5 months, yeah. But now he's got those other 7-8 months that he could get some business, right? He's got a reason to contact this client. So that just makes a whole ton of sense, man.
Without a doubt. And again, he's got 1,000, 1,200 clients, right? Wow. So now he sends a mailer out or a text message if he has a strong CRM system.
Right? That's right.
And says, hey, by the way, we have a discount on life insurance, whether it be term or permanent. We'd love an opportunity to give you a free quote. Or he gives a massive email saying, hey, you need to roll over your 401k. Please come in and have a conversation with us. It's a great piece. It's not like they're selling lotion and real estate.
Right.
Exactly. It's not like they're, you know what I mean? Like it's a little bit of a different.
That's right. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand, because normally a client will go out and see a lender to get a pre-qual. Then they go out and see a realtor to go and buy a piece of property with that pre-qual. Then they go and get mortgage protection, which is life insurance.
Right.
Then they go and get a retirement plan, normally from the blue-haired lady at HR that makes less money than they do.
Right.
And then they go and get tax advice. So all these people are trying to do the right thing for this client.
Got it.
Ain't happening.
Right.
So
wow.
the financial architects puts it all together, right?
Nice. That makes sense.
So
that's powerful, man. Because you guys specialize. That's what you specialize in, right?
absolutely.
That's awesome, man.
Like even I have an office in Orange. The broker there is Terry Bowie. She's Vietnamese, and she just flew her parents in like a year and a half ago. And her brother's a CPA, so they do business hand in hand.
Right.
I got a real estate group, Keller Williams in Anaheim. Anna Costa, she's a Keller Williams broker. She puts financial architects inside.
So you also work with some EXP guys.
Oh yeah, EXP. My buddy Joe out in Upland. Yeah, I spoke at his office.
Joe, that's right. Yeah.
I'd put a suit on for that one.
Yeah, I saw that video, man. Yeah.
Dusted it off.
Yeah. No, I've been following Joe, man. He's been doing something incredible. I'm a big fan of EXP because of the model that they have.
JT's dope.
Yeah. The model that we have for solar is the EXP version of that. There's a quote that I love. It says, "It's okay to be a copycat as long as you copy the right cat." Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, man. It's very true, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things about in school, they teach you that copying is bad. They teach you to be a fault finder,
right?
kind of.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, you got
go to the principal's office.
Exactly, right? You got 9 answers right, 1 wrong, and it's circled in red, right?
Yeah.
And then copying is bad, right? But the thing is that in reality, copying is good. Why would somebody not copy what you're doing, especially if they're in the same industry? And even if they're not, if you see somebody that has results that you don't have, maybe they're, the shape that they're in, the health they're in, their business success, it's a smart thing to copy these people. You know what I mean? And so that makes a lot of sense.
There's even an incentive for copying, even in this franchise phenomena. When people go to McDonald's University, for example, they're going to learn exactly how much ketchup to put on the burger. They're going to learn how the drive-through works, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So just copy and repeat.
That's right.
It's just
it makes a lot of sense. Finally, bro, we also have young people, teenagers that watch the podcast. And that's kind of one of the areas that I wanted to send it. And you already gave some great advice on that, right? But if you could, if you have any parting words for the youngster, the teenager, maybe even a preteen, or maybe a young adult, 17, 18, 19 years old, right? Mm-hmm. What words of advice would you give somebody like that?
Man, what wouldn't I give? There's a ton of advice.
There is,
and I'm not saying that I've been the most incredible parent. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. My daughter is 12, Braylon, and I just started doing TikTok, not because I wanted to, by the way.
Okay.
The social media guy again. Gotta be on TikTok. So my daughter, I did this TikTok. It's like a 30-second TikTok, and we have 112,000 views on it so far.
Wow.
And the video just expresses work, save, spend. You got to keep it simple for kids, right?
Nice.
If you tell them there's a module and you got to follow, nah, man, they ain't listen to that.
Right.
So I try and keep it as simple as possible when it comes to Braylon, because she needs to hear the simple message. So when it's work, go and work your ass off, do what you need to do. Save, which is save 30% of what you make. Right. I don't care where you save it, just save.
Right.
And then spend the rest. Now it goes a long way, because now she's thinking, well, I can't spend the whole 100%.
That's right.
Kids are awesome. They'll do exactly what you ask them to do if it's expressed in a certain way.
Right.
So if Braylon goes and earns, like the TikTok says, I gave her $100. Right. So in that scenario, she has to save 30%. So she's putting 10% in her savings account, 10% in a crypto account, and 10% in a mutual fund or a stock account.
Right.
So now she's growing up learning, okay, I'm saving 30% of what I make. So when she gets a job and she's making $2,000 a month and she saves 30%, she knows she can't spend $600 of it.
Right.
What was it? Frederick Taylor said, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he says, I'd rather create great youngsters than try and fix broken adults.
Love it.
And man, that makes so much sense, because we're so habitual. We've created who we are the past 25 years and 30 years of our bad habits, right?
Yep, that's right.
The Oracle of Omaha says the chains of habit are too heavy, or the chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken.
Ooh, that's so powerful.
That's strong,
Wow.
right? So people get into these different habits,
Right.
and then they're this person, and then they think that that's got to be them. They have to be constant with them.
Right.
Well, I'm a loser. No, you don't have to stay there. You take the chains off real quick,
That's right.
and then go and be somebody else and recreate those chains again. So as children, those chains can be manufactured by parenting correct. Again, I'm not the best parent in town, but now I'm learning it a little bit better.
You also learn from your mistakes, though, man. We all do, yeah. Well, you know, when you mentioned that about change, that also, in one of the solo episodes that I did a couple of, matter of fact, it was the last one, I think last week's, it was on your association, right? That has a lot to do with your limiting beliefs and what you believe about yourself. If you know, there's this, I oversay this quote, but I don't care. If you hang out with five bums, you're gonna be number 6, right? Yep. And so you're probably hanging out with people that have those limiting beliefs, that think they're a loser, think they're no good, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? That's probably why people think that way. One of my buddies, Jonathan, who I'm gonna have on the podcast too, he says, I love the podcast, bro. The advice that I would be asking would be, how do I get around those people? So that's a question I'm going to throw at you, bro, right? Because that's such a great question. I say, you're right. I didn't think of that going into it. Now I have some ideas. So let's say somebody says, okay, great. I should limit my association with certain people and I should increase my association with others. Okay. How does one get around people like you, or maybe people not so much like you, because you're a busy dude, right? Yeah. But maybe the younger version of you that's a little bit more accessible, or, you know, so what advice would you give to somebody there?
I had a girl, she hit me up on, she Googled she wanted to get into financial planning, and we came up in her area.
Right.
So she calls first, and my assistant just totally smokes her. You know, she's just like, no, he's not available. She read all these great reviews about us.
Got it.
And they mentioned my name on Yelp. She didn't care. She came to the office and she goes, I want to talk to Manny.
Oh, nice.
So she goes into my office and she's like, hey, I'll sweep the floors. I'll do this, that. You know, she had a strong game. And I was like, I got to take the meeting with this girl because she's strong, you know.
That's right.
And she was there for 15 minutes. And as you said, I'm busy as can be. I'm busier than a one-legged man in an ass kicking contest. Like, I got a lot of things going on. I got a lot of, you know, irons in the coal. But you know, she impressed me by doing that. Yeah. And I said, hey, you're going to have to get licensed to do X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
So now she's on her way to getting licensed.
That's awesome.
She knows, though, I don't want to talk to you until you're licensed. Because it's just a waste of my time. Yep. Not just my time, your time. So just to name a few, I hate when people name drop, but just to name a few people that I've been around, like when I was 20, my buddy Edgar, he told me to buy my first 4 unit, you know, and he was my boss at that time, and he was 10 months younger than me.
Wow.
Damn it. But he makes like $1.3 million a month right now.
Wow.
So he's crushing it. I'm so proud of him. But, you know, I grew up with guys like that. I remember him driving a 1997 Infiniti when he first started his first car dealership.
Yeah.
My best friend, Bashir, he owns multiple Jack in the Boxes, multiple Denny's and corner bakeries. And I mean, he's 9 months younger than me. Damn it. But, you know, he's crushing it. But he's very humble guy.
You're crushing it too, though, brother. You know what I mean? So, you know, he's a humble dude, but you're crushing it too, brother.
Absolutely. Yeah. But to be around these people, I really believe that you need to offer value.
Yeah, it's true.
So when my best friend hits me up and says, hey, bro, let's go grab a bite, I know I'm in his circle.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely.
Because we didn't go to the best high school, but he graduated from high school with me.
That's right.
He's the only guy I still talk to from high school, like am tight with from high school.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
That's cool, man.
Edgar, you know, I come around Edgar, he's like, what are you doing tonight, bro? Let's go out. Let's go do something. Yeah. He's married. He's got a bunch of kids and stuff. But he likes to kick it as well. So, you know, having that, I got to be at their level to have that conversation. And I think that Ed used to say the books that you read and the tapes that you listen to, that's how long, you know, tapes that you listen to. That's how long I've been on this journey. But now it would be more the YouTubes that you're listening to and the podcasts that you're paying attention to.
The info you get.
Absolutely. So that brings up your level, because I make $500,000 a month. Like, I already know I make that, right? getting to the actual reality of it is only a matter of time.
Yes.
But now that that's in my subconscious and my conscious goals, it's inevitably going to happen next year or the year after. So because I tell myself that every single day, I just did this, I just did that, I just did this, and then I feel it inside of my body, it now makes me more congruent with being around these other people. So being around them, like if I had to do it again and I'm making $80,000 a year, which is a true story, that's where I was at 29 years old, I would aggressively be talking to guys that are not in my sphere of influence yet.
Yes.
And I'd seek them out. Dude, knowing what I know now, I'd be like, I'd do exactly what that girl did. I'd be hungry, man. I'd go to Google. I'd go, hey, what's the biggest financial thing that I can make money in right now? How can I affect people's lives?
Right.
How can I get there as quickly as possible? And then I'd find the top 3 guys or gals and I'd go, I'm going to go meet them, man.
That's right.
I'm going to go treat them to coffee. I'm going to walk in with some Starbucks, or I'm going to say, hey, lunch is on me today. You know, naturally people think, oh, they got all the money, they should treat me. That's ass backwards.
That's right.
So I would aggressively be pursuing somebody that is just like that. And I would do anything just to make it happen. Like David, I just texted him the other day. I was like, hey, bro, because, you know, I haven't seen his dad in a long time. And me and his dad, we used to talk a lot on these trips that we used to get. And I was like, dude, I want to go rap with your dad. And it's not really to go see Pat. I legit want to go and see his dad because I know that my dad isn't going to be on earth for that much longer. So I know that other people's parents aren't as well. Right. And I just want to have that experience with them.
That's good.
To go, man, give me some wisdom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If someone's a bad parent, I'm not getting parenting advice from them.
Right.
If someone's bad at finances, I'm not getting advice from those jokers. You know? So,
right.
So cause and effect.
It's true, man. You know, you saw my story recently on when I was in Vegas and I met up with Brad Lee, right? The thing about Brad Lee, the funny thing about Brad is that he and I spoke at an event in 2016. I had an event in Vegas. It was called Red.
Brad's a beast. I love Brad.
Brad's a beast, bro. Yeah. So we spoke at that event together. That's when I met him, 2016, yeah. And he crushed it. He didn't have the podcast yet and all that stuff, but I knew that he was crushing it. And since then, he's blown up. Back then, he wasn't like, he probably knew Grant Cardone and those guys, but you didn't really see it on social media too much. So he's a busy guy, right? He answers my text messages and my calls and stuff like that, especially text messages. But I'm in Vegas and I figured I don't have an appointment with Brad, but I'm going to take a shot. Wayne Gretzky says you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I said, I'm going to shoot this dude a text. I said, hey, Brad, what's up? You know, hope you're doing well. I'm in Vegas. Want to know if I could buy you a drink or buy you some lunch. Let me know, bro. Then he says, not a drink or lunch, but you could come and hang at the office if you want, right? That's my shot. Now, I know I don't have a lot of time, so I go to his office. I said, what time? He says, this time, light speed. Great. So I show up the following day. He's like, JC, what do I owe the pleasure to? And I knew exactly what I was going there, right? I want to get the CEO of Power on his podcast. They just had the CEO of EXP on his podcast. And I'm like number 3 in the entire company, right? So that's a lot of exposure for me as well. And I want to get my CEO on my podcast. You know what I mean? So I said, and then Brad wants to have key people like this on his podcast. So it's a win-win for everybody. Right. I said, well, if you're asking Brad, I'm going to tell you. You know, the reason why I know you're busy, here's what I'm here, blah, blah, blah. So we shut the shit for about an hour. And then, long story short, he agreed, hey, man, I want to have the CEO on the podcast. I already talked to the CEO. He wants to be on the podcast. So we're getting that going, right? But it's about aggressively searching for it. When I left real estate, December 2007, I had like 6 deals in escrow. Only one of them closed. We had $1 million listings that fell. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get into, because I love network marketing. I had done it before. I said, I'm going to get into network marketing. I'm going to crush it so hard, but I got to find a way to pay my bills in the meantime. I didn't even know in 2007 that credit repair existed, bro. I now own a credit repair company. And back then it wasn't as popular as it is now. Right. So I go online. And that's the thing. Everybody's the equivalent of a genius these days. There's no excuse to not level up. There's no excuse to not grow. Zero. Right? Because everybody, with Google and the internet, everybody's the equivalent of a genius. So what happens, I search, I find a company in Downey. I said, perfect. I live next door. So I call the guy. Hey, man, I saw that you guys I'm a real estate agent getting out of the industry. I have a lot of past clients. I need your services. I want to be a sales agent for your company. He tells me we're not hiring. I said, hold on. I'm not asking for a salary. I want a commission-based position. He says, we're not hiring, hangs up on me. That's the only company though around. I call again. They don't even pass me to him. George Hernandez is my buddy, man. So putting him on blast a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I show up the next day like I got an interview, bro. Very next day, 8 a.m, show up to his office. I'm like, hey, man, can I speak to George? Do you have an appointment? I said, as a matter of fact, I do. So they call him. And he's walking up to the front from the back of his office like a puzzled look because he just told them that I said that I have an appointment with him. Hey, can I help you? He doesn't know what I look like. It was just a phone call. I was like, yes, man, you and I spoke yesterday regarding the sales position for credit repair. But I told you we're not hiring. I said, I know that you're not hiring, but I need 5 minutes of your time. I came here. If you sit down with me for 5 minutes, you're going to want me to sell for you. And I saw a bunch of people in cubicles, right, on their phones, and they had cubicles and, headpiece on. Yeah. So I figured they're getting some kind of leads, right? And I said, are all these your salespeople on leads? He goes, yeah. And by the way I found them is on the Clasificado. They had a big old page on the back end of the Clasificado of his sister on there, right? And I said, are these all your sales agents? Yes. Are they on leads? Yeah. I said, I will outsell every single one of them without a single lead. I don't need a lead from you. I will make you more money. You just give me 5 minutes of your time. All I'm going to ask for is a little bit of training, some contracts. I'm going to leave this office. I'm going to come back with money and contracts, bro. He says, walk into my office. So we get in there. We talk for about 10 minutes. I leave out of there with a job, right? And sure enough, bro, 3 weeks later, out producing everybody with no leads, bro. Right. What I was doing, I was visiting real estate offices for like 4 or 5 hours, bro. Just nonstop. Then I would put on my suit jacket on this side, I put the business cards of the agents that I spoke to. And on this side, the ones that I didn't speak to. So I had a different email that goes out to them, right? I offered to send them before and afters, right? I acted as if. Before you know it, bam, I'm making $9,000 a month, $10,000 a month, right? I went from broke to making $9,000-$10,000 a month in like 2 months. Why? Because of the hustle. And I didn't take no for an answer. There wasn't a lot of options, right? I mentioned that story because of what you mentioned, and because there's so many people that they claim that they really want stuff, but they're not out there doing what's necessary. They're half-assing the stuff that needs to get done. You know what I mean? So
I hear that a lot, man.
Yeah, bro.
I want to make $1 million, but I can't show up to a meeting, man. I'm like 40 miles away. Oh, okay. I bet you if I had an $18,000 check waiting for you with your name on it, you'd be early though, huh?
Exactly.
Well, yeah. So it's not a matter of whether you can make it or not. It's a matter of there's just no value in you making it.
That's exactly right.
Lazy asses. I completely agree, bro.
Bro, we're going to have to shoot another podcast in the future. And next time I want you to bring the 911. You got the 7 Series. Yeah. Next time, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I love this car, bro. I'm just looking for another excuse to get you back on the podcast, bro.
No doubt.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, the 750 is more practical.
So by the way, bro, for the people that are watching, I know that if I'm watching this, I want to know this information. How can people reach you, bro?
There's a couple different ways you can reach me. My office number is 888-350-5396. Or our website is tfainsuranceadvisors.com. Or you can reach me on Instagram, of course, under Money Business Manny, or Facebook, Manuel Soto.
Awesome. My man, I appreciate you, my man. Let's get it done, brother. Hey, and by the way, we got to hit the gym soon, man. We've been having that pending for a while.
I'm in.
See you guys on the next podcast. Share this. By the way, I want you guys to comment the information that you liked, one golden nugget that you got. I'm going to be sending out some entrepreneur shirts to a couple of you guys out there who are on the comments and who are sharing this information. I'll see you guys on the next episode.